Before the week starts, before the plans form, before the first decision of the day has been made, or the first obligation has been remembered, or the first noise of Sunday has risen to the level where it becomes hard to ignore. Before all of that, here, this moment, right now, is the first moment of this Sunday, and you are choosing what to give it to. That choice matters more than it appears, because the first moment of a day tends to determine the posture of everything that follows. Not in a mechanical way, not like a formula that guarantees a certain outcome, but in the way that a foundation shapes what is built on top of it. What you give your first attention to sets a tone. It orients the compass. It tells the rest of the day what direction to face. And the person who gives the first moment of a Sunday to God is already standing in a different position than the person who gives it to a screen or a worry or the momentum of whatever the week left behind. You gave it here. That is not nothing. There is something particular about Sunday mornings that creates an opening that other days do not quite have. The pace is slower. The structure is looser. The first decision of the day is not immediately imposed by a schedule, and in that small pocket of undemanded time, something is available that the rest of the week crowds out. The genuine possibility of starting not with what is required, but with what is chosen. Not with obligation, but with orientation. Not with whatever needs to be done first, but with the one who goes before everything that needs to be done. This is Sunday, March 22nd, and before this day fills with whatever it will hold, you are here, choosing to begin here. That decision made before the coffee is finished, before the household stirs, before the agenda of a Sunday has asserted itself, is an act of faith that is quieter than most and more powerful than it looks. His word declares in the book of Psalms, chapter 5, verses 2 and 3, that the Lord hears your voice in the morning. You lay your requests before him and wait expectantly in the morning. That timing is not accidental. Morning is when the attention is freshest, when the defenses are not yet fully up and the noise has not yet reached its volume. Morning is when the heart is most available. And what the heart gives its first availability to on a Sunday morning shapes the entire week that follows it. Before we enter this prayer, write in the comments right now, I begin here. I give God the first moment of this Sunday and every day that follows. Write it as a declaration of priority, because what you put first tends to stay first, and what you put first with God tends to stay with you. Like this video as an act of giving God the first. Subscribe to this channel so we can begin every morning together before the day has made a single claim on your attention. And share this prayer with someone who has been meaning to start their mornings with God, but keeps getting pulled in before they get there. Send this to them before their Sunday gets loud. Now let us begin here. Together, Lord my God and my Father, I come before you at the start of this Sunday morning, and I bring what I have. Not a perfectly composed heart, not a spotlessly arranged interior life. What I actually have this morning, which includes the residue of last week, the questions that did not resolve, the weariness that is still present, the hope that persists in spite of both, and the genuine desire to begin this day in the right place before it pulls me somewhere else. You receive all of it, not just the tidy version, the real one. Your word declares in the book of Psalms, chapter 90, verse 14, to satisfy us in the morning with your unfailing love, that we may sing for joy and be glad all our days. Satisfy in the morning. That is a specific request made to a God who is willing to meet it. Satisfaction that comes not from what the day produces, but from what God pours in before the day has had a chance to produce anything at all. That is what I'm asking for right now. Satisfy me here before anything else does. Father, I want to talk about what it means to begin a day with God, rather than just to add God to a day that has already begun without Him. There is a difference. Adding God to a day already in motion looks like checking in when things get hard, asking for help when the problem exceeds the capacity to handle it alone, reaching for prayer when the difficulty has already established itself, and the prayer is essentially asking for rescue. That kind of prayer is real, and God answers it. But it is reactive. It puts God in the position of responder rather than initiator. It arrives after the tone has already been set. Beginning a day with God is something different. It is proactive. It is walking to the door before the day knocks and opening it in God's company rather than opening it alone. It is having the conversation before the situation arises rather than in the middle of it. It is setting the compass in the morning quiet so that the needle is already pointing in the right direction when the first challenge of the day arrives and tries to redirect it. The practical difference between those two approaches is significant. The person who began with God enters the first difficult moment of the day already oriented. They are not starting from scratch when the pressure arrives. They have already established something in the morning that the pressure has to work against rather than build on. The foundation is already there. Maybe that is exactly where you want to be this Sunday. Not just surviving the week ahead by calling on God when things get hard, actually beginning from a place of genuine connection with Him, so that what the week produces has to work against something solid rather than fill a space that was empty. Your word declares in the book of Proverbs, chapter 16, verse 3, to commit to the Lord whatever you do, and He will establish your plans. Commit. Before the plans are in motion, before the week has started, in the morning quiet of a Sunday, before any of it has begun. The commitment made here in the first moment of this day is what the rest of the week is built on. I begin here. I give God the first moment of this Sunday and every day that follows. So, Father, I commit this week to you now before it has started. Not the details, because I do not yet know all the details, the whole of it. Everything it will contain that I have already anticipated and everything it will contain that I have not. The conversations already scheduled and the ones I do not know are coming. The decisions already on the agenda and the ones that will arrive unexpectedly and need an answer before I feel ready. All of it committed to you before it begins. Right here, and I want to ask for something that the practice of beginning with God produces over time, not just today, but week by week. I want to ask for a growing dependence on this, not as a religious obligation that I complete and check off, but as a genuine need that becomes more obvious the more I practice it, because that is what consistent morning prayer does in a person. It does not make them more self-sufficient. It makes them more aware of how much they need this. The person who has prayed every morning for a season knows something about themselves that the person who prays only in crisis does not yet know, that they are not designed to begin alone, that the quality of the day is genuinely different when it starts here, that what God pours in during the quiet of the morning is not just a spiritual practice. It is actual sustenance, actual orientation, actual preparation for what the day requires. Let me want this more, Lord. Not as a discipline I maintain, but as a hunger I follow. The kind that wakes up before the alarm because something in me already knows that the most important thing I do today happens in the first few minutes of it. That is the life of morning prayer that I am asking for, not just this Sunday. Week after week, year after year, becoming more of what I was designed to be because I kept beginning here. Lord, I want to pray about something specific that Sunday mornings carry that other mornings do not. Sunday is the hinge. It is the day that stands between what the week was and what the week will be. It looks backward at what the last 7 days produced and forward at what the next 7 days will require. And in that hinge position, on a Sunday morning, both directions are present at once. The residue of what just ended and the anticipation of what is about to begin. The tiredness of what was and the quiet anxiety of what will be. And the person who does not stop in that hinge moment and orient themselves tends to carry both directions at the same time into Monday. The unresolved weight of last week and the preemptive anxiety about next week. And neither one gets the full attention it needs because both are competing for the same mental space. That is what this prayer is doing this morning. Creating a pause in the hinge. A full stop between the week that was and the week that will be. A moment where both are released to God before either one is picked back up. And in that release, something becomes possible that the carrying prevented. Rest. Genuine rest. Not the absence of activity, but the presence of a settled spirit that is not being pulled in two directions simultaneously. Your word declares in the book of Genesis chapter 2, verses 2 and 3, that on the seventh day God finished the work he had been doing, so on the seventh day he rested from all his work. And God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. God rested, not because he was tired, because rest is holy. Because ceasing is an act of trust that says the work will be there tomorrow, and the one who sustains it does not need me to maintain it through the night. That is the posture of this Sunday morning. A deliberate ceasing, a holy pause. Not avoidance of what is coming, but trust that what is coming is held by the one who does not rest, which means I can. And Lord, I want to ask you to use this Sunday to do something in me that the week did not have the space for. The week is efficient, it moves, it produces, but it rarely has room for the deeper work of formation. The kind of change that happens not through effort, but through time spent in your presence. The slow, quiet transformation that does not announce itself, but that over weeks and months and years produces a person who is genuinely different. Let today be one of those days where the transformation is happening even when I cannot see it. Where the time spent here is not wasted, even if nothing dramatic occurs. Where being with you is enough. And I want to name something about the formation that happens in the hinge of a Sunday morning. It is not only about preparation for the week ahead. It is also about integration of the week that just ended, the experiences that happened that have not yet been fully processed, the difficulty that was survived but not yet understood, the gift that was received but not yet acknowledged, the moment of grace that passed quickly and deserves to be held a little longer. So Lord, as I stand in this hinge between last week and next, I ask you to help me receive what last week was actually giving me. Not just endure what it cost, not just survive what was hard about it, but actually receive the formation that was happening in it, the patience that was being built in the waiting, the character being shaped in the difficulty, the faith being exercised in the uncertainty, even the exhaustion, which was the honest evidence of effort that God sees and honors. None of it was wasted. Help me to see it that way and carry that understanding into the week ahead as something that makes the next round of difficulty a little less bewildering. Your word declares in the book of James chapter 1, verses 2 through 4, that we should consider it pure joy whenever we face trials of many kinds, because the testing of faith produces perseverance, and perseverance must finish its work so that we may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Mature and complete. That is the destination, not a life without difficulty, but a life that has been formed by difficulty into something whole, something that holds, something that has been tested enough times to know it can be trusted. I begin here. I give God the first moment of this Sunday and every day that follows. Father, I want to ask you now for something specific about the hours of this Sunday. I want to ask for a quality of attention that is rare in the modern world. I want to ask for the ability to be fully present to one thing at a time, not fractured across three things simultaneously, which is how most days are lived. Not half present in the current moment, while the other half is already in the next one. Actually here, in this hour, with these people, doing this thing, receiving this moment as the whole of what is currently available rather than as a fraction of what the day is trying to accomplish. Presence is one of the rarest gifts a person can offer another person, and it is one of the most costly things to give in an age of constant distraction: to put the phone down, to make eye contact, to listen until the other person is actually finished rather than preparing the response while they are still speaking. To be in the room, in the conversation, in the moment, without the constant low-level departure that distraction produces. That quality of presence begins with the quality of attention given to God in the morning. The person who has genuinely been present to God in prayer carries a different kind of attentiveness into the rest of the day, not as a performance of attention, but as its natural overflow. Because to practice presence with God is to practice the fundamental skill of being actually here, and that skill, once practiced, extends. Before the first thing on the Sunday schedule demands your presence, before the household needs something from you, before the plans for the day begin to unfold and the attention begins to be divided, give this hour to God fully, not multitasking, not half here while checking something, here, fully. Let this be the most present you have been all week. Your word declares in the book of Psalms, chapter 27, verse 4, that one thing David asked of the Lord was to dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of his life, to gaze on the beauty of the Lord and to seek him in his temple. One thing. In a life of many things, one was most important: the presence of God, the dwelling in it, the gazing on him. David did not make a list of requests and move on. He wanted to stay, to remain in the presence, rather than extract what was needed and leave. That quality of desire for God, wanting to be with him, not just to get from him, is one of the marks of a mature faith. Let me cultivate that today, Lord. Not the transactional version of prayer, where I bring my list and receive my answers and close the conversation. The relational version, where the conversation itself is the gift. Where being here with you is not the means to the end, but is itself the thing I came for. Because a person who genuinely wants to be in God's presence carries that wanting into every part of the day, every room, every interaction, every ordinary moment of a Sunday that would otherwise pass unremarkably, and instead becomes a place where the presence is also there. And Father, let this quality of beginning, of giving the first moment here, become something that the people around me begin to notice without me ever having to explain it. Let the difference that starts here be visible in how I show up in the rest of the day, in the patience that was not present before, in the generosity that comes from a place of having received rather than a place of having to generate, in the peace that holds when the day gets difficult, not as a performance of spiritual health, but as the genuine product of a morning that began in the right place. I begin here. I give God the first moment of this Sunday and every day that follows. Father, as this prayer moves toward its close, I want to look forward into the week ahead and do something with it before it begins. I want to offer it to you, not as a to-do list handed over for divine execution, as an open hand, a posture that says, I do not know everything this week contains, and I am choosing to trust you with the parts I cannot see. The meeting that is not yet scheduled, the difficulty that has not yet arrived, the person who will need something from me that I do not yet know they need, the moment of decision that will require wisdom I do not currently have. All of it, before it happens, placed in your hands. Your word declares in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 29, verse 11, that the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future, plans already made, already in place, not improvised in response to what the week produces, but prepared in advance by a God who sees the whole of it from the beginning. The week ahead is not unknown to him, and what feels to me like walking into the uncertain is walking into something he has already been preparing. That changes the posture of Monday morning. Not dread of what the week will demand, expectation of what God has already placed in it. Not anxiety about what might go wrong, curiosity about what He has prepared. Not the burden of a week that has to be managed through sheer effort, the adventure of a week that is walked in company with the one who made it. And Lord, I want to name what the practice of beginning here accumulates over time, because one Sunday of morning prayer is a good thing, but a month of them is something different, a year of them is something different again. The person who has been beginning here week after week, through the easy Sundays and the hard ones, through the seasons of clear answers and the seasons of sustained uncertainty, that person is being formed in a way that is not visible on any single Sunday, but becomes unmistakable over the arc of a year. Something is being built, something is being deepened, a root system that goes down further than the eye can see and holds when the storm comes. Your word declares in the book of Psalms, chapter 1, verses 2 and 3, that the person whose delight is in the law of the Lord, who meditates on His word day and night, is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers. Planted by streams, deliberately placed near a continuous source of what is needed to thrive. That is what beginning here does. Week after week, it plants you near the water. It keeps you in range of what you need, and a tree planted well does not have to strain toward the water. The water is right there. Let this be the planting, Lord, this Sunday, this prayer, this first moment given to you, part of the long, patient, fruitful work of a life that keeps beginning in the right place. I begin here. I give God the first moment of this Sunday and every day that follows. That is my declaration and my intention, not just for this Sunday, for every morning that comes after it, that the first moment belongs to God, that before the week claims its territory and the day makes its demands and the noise rises to its full volume, there is this, the quiet, the prayer, the deliberate choice to begin here. To everyone who prayed with me this morning, go back to the comments and write it one final time. I begin here. I give God the first moment of this Sunday and every day that follows. Carry that into the week. Return to it on Monday morning when the pace picks back up. Let it be the practice that builds over time into something that reshapes what every morning feels like. Subscribe to this channel and come back tomorrow. We start the week together. Every week, before it has had a chance to start without us. Share this prayer with someone who needs a different kind of Sunday start. Someone who has been meaning to give God the first moment and keeps getting pulled somewhere else first. Send it now before their morning gets loud. May the Lord meet you in this first moment and carry the meeting forward through every moment that follows. May the week ahead be one where you feel His presence not only in the prayer, but in the ordinary hours of the days that the prayer opens. May you begin Monday with the same posture you have right now, before the week has asked anything of you, giving the first to the one who deserves it. And may every Sunday from now on begin in the same place this one did, right here, with Him, before anything else, in Jesus' name, amen.